Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 9 Part 38 based on novel. So let's start. The gigantic glowing array in the sky spread out. Boundless and majestic energy flooded out from within, while an astonishing aura started to radiate out from it. As the giant array took shape, the 18 withered figures had already flew over. Without any intelligence, they naturally did not know how to evade. Therefore, they had continued with their movement and rushed straight into the array. Just as they rushed into the array, the ancient universe formation instantly produced a low humming sound. Boundless energy erupted out, before transforming into countless streaks of light that shot out. Forming a net, it completely entangled the 18 withered figures within. Roar? This obstruction instantly caused those withered figures to emit low roars akin to wild beasts. The black flames that covered their bodies rapidly swept out, setting the light net twining their bodies on fire. Those black flames were clearly quite formidable. Once they made contact with the light net, it instantly started to shudder. However, it did not dissipate immediately. Obviously, the strength of the ancient universe array was not to be underestimated. Although dealing with them head-on would be very troublesome, restraining them doesn't seem as difficult as I had imagined. As Lin Dong looked towards those withered figures who were struggling with all their might, a grin appeared on his face. With a change of his hand seal, bright and resplendent brilliance instantly sparkled from the ancient universe formation. As those brilliance rays sparkled, solid-looking crystal threads started to extend forth. Finally, covering over the light net that had trapped those withered figures, it caused the bondage to grow increasingly tough and resilient. Following the support from those energy crystal threads, the raging black flames were unable to do much. For a moment, low roars akin to that of wild beasts rang out from the mouths of those withered figures, rumbling across the sky as they resounded out. Those withered figures clearly didn't understand how formidable the ancient universe formation was. The energy that erupted from within the array wasn't any ordinary yuan power from heaven and earth. Therefore, the black flames that were perfused by the sinister aura were unable to achieve the same formidable results that occurred when they were dealing with those experts. As Lin Dong looked at the withered figures that were momentarily being restrained, he gently exhaled a breath of air. Fortunately, due to the might of his ancient universe formation, coupled with absorbing energy provided by the Great Desolation scripture, he was able to form a powerful obstruction. However, despite so, he could not indefinitely maintain his restraint over those 18 withered corpses, who were as powerful as a half-step profound death stage expert. Big brother Lin Dong, should I go and deal with them? Seeing Lin Dong's actions, Mu Lingshan was instantly eager to give it a go. No need. Lin Dong smiled, shaking his head as he replied. Mu Lingshan's strength was only at the perfect profound life stage. Relying on the life-death coffin cover, she might be able to deal with 1 or 2 withered corpses. However, 18 of them wasn't something that she could contend with. Yang, it's up to you. Lin Dong said within his heart. Just as Lin Dong's words rang out, the ancestral stone within his body instantly gave a tremble. In the next moment, a gentle white light slowly flew out from his body, before floating in front of him. Within the brilliance, an extremely ancient stone talisman could be faintly discernible, while an extremely mysterious fluctuation slowly radiated out of it. Mu Lingshan opened her eyes wide as she looked curiously at the stone talisman floating before Lin Dong. The fluctuations coming from it caused her heart to palpitate slightly. Swish! As the clump of light shook, a sound that seemed to be a horn call from the ancient times was faintly discernible. As the horn call rang out, brilliance erupted from the stone talisman in the air. Seemingly countless ancient figures were faintly discernible as they surfaced and appeared. Those figures had auras akin to rainbows, as though they were condensed from the thoughts of countless people. Those thoughts were their desires to protect the world. A roar from the ancient antiquity rang out from those glowing figures, before floating out. Transforming into 18 white-colored cryptic runes, extremely mysterious and strange fluctuations erupted out from their surfaces. Rune of Defense. A hoarse and ancient voice rang out from within the ancestral stone. In the next moment, the 18 glowing runes instantly smashed through the air, shooting towards the 18 withered figures. Roar! As the glowing runes shot over, astonishing roars rang out instantly from 18 withered figures. From those roars, one could unexpectedly sense the appearance of a sliver of dread. They tried their best to break free as black flames erupted berserkly from them, attempting to escape the restrainment of the light net. Lin Dong's expression instantly turned grave as he hastily maneuvered the power of the array to tightly bind those withered figures. He understood that this was the most critical moment. If any mishaps were to happen now, he may no longer have such an exceptional opportunity to deal with them again. Bang! The ancient universe formation slowly revolved, as astonishing amounts of energies continuously descended from it wave after wave, tightly pressing down on those withered figures. With the ancient universe formation buying time, the 18 glowing runes had finally shot over. In the next instant, they pressed on the heads of those withered figures that were pervaded by the black flames. The instant the glowing runes pressed down, the withered figures, who were originally struggling, suddenly froze. Waves of gentle and mysterious white brilliance gushed into their bodies. Under the attack of the white brilliance, the black flames that pervaded the insides of their bodies retreated and disappeared at an astonishing speed. Looking at those withered figures that had froze up, Lin Dong gave a deep sigh of relief in his heart. Looks like what Yang had said is true, it is indeed able to dispel the Yimo Qi. Strand by strand, the sinister Yimo Qi rapidly dissipated away from the bodies of the 18 withered figures. After a moment, they were finally dispelled completely. The moment the Yimo Qi within the withered figures had completely disappeared, the ancestral stone transformed into a white ray of light once again, flying back into Lin Dong's body. Upon seeing this, Lin Dong gave a flick of his finger, causing the light net wrapping around those withered figures to tighten abruptly. This time, the withered figures, whose bodies were originally as tough as steel, exploded up, turning into ashes, fluttering as they dropped down to the ground. After losing the Yimo Qi, the fleshly bodies of those withered figures had also lost their protection and became extremely fragile. Looking at those withered figures that had turned totally into ashes, Lin Dong gently exhaled a breath of air, before looking with glittering eyes towards the sky. Present there were 18 jet black pills, whirling as they rotated around. Waves of destructive fluctuations could be faintly discernible as they radiated out. These fluctuations were death qi. Deathly silent pills? A scorching gaze flashed across Lin Dong's eyes. Clenching his hand, a suction force immediately erupted from within his palm, directly drawing those 18 deathly silent pills into his hand. Each pill was worth millions of Xian Yuan pills. His reward this time around was indeed rather substantial. After keeping the deathly silent pills properly, Lin Dong made another grasp, keeping the ancient universe formation back into his body. After completing that, he nodded his head in satisfaction, before turning around and smiling towards Mu Lingshan, whose face was now filled with astonishment. "What? You're so formidable, big brother Lin Dong." Mu Lingshan's big eyes glittered and sparkled as she stared at Lin Dong. Naturally, she knew how formidable those 18 withered figures were, and even she was unable to deal with all of them. However, right in front of her, Lin Dong used less than 10 minutes to cleanly dispatch them. This caused the little miss to feel a little worship towards him. After being stared at by the little miss in this fashion, Lin Dong could not help but feel slightly joyous. However, just as he was able to speak, a clapping sound rang out in a distance not far away all of a sudden. "Ha ha! Truly formidable. You're actually able to dispel the Yimo Qi." The voice that suddenly appeared caused Lin Dong's eyes to violent contract. Turning his head around in a flash, he noticed at the crown of a large tree not far away sat a figure covered in red robes. At this time, the latter was gently clapping, while a sliver of amazement was present in his words. Lin Dong stared tightly at this mysterious man dressed in red, while the Yuan power within his body rapidly revolved while his eyes were filled with vigilance. This red-robed man had managed to appear at a position so close to him. However, he was actually unable to detect an inkling of him. As Lin Dong started at the person in front of him for a while before speaking out in a low and deep voice. "May I know who you are? May I know who are you, colon?" When Lin Dong spoke those words, shock and horror were present within his heart. He was usually very cautious and prudent. However, right now, he had even used the ancestral stone within his body. This was always considered as a fairly major secret to him. Mu Lingshan was a person that he trusted. First of all, she simply didn't know about it, and second, even if she knew, Lin Dong was not worried. However, the red-robed man that had suddenly appeared caused Lin Dong to feel somewhat at a loss. Upon uttering those words, Lin Dong's body abruptly began to tighten. Yuan power erupted into his meridian, causing him to appear akin to a leopard about to pounce on its prey, with aggressive intent brimming all over his body. "You're truly a cautious fellow," the red-robed man said with a laugh, as if could feel the intense reaction coming from Lin Dong. This person was completely wrapped in red robes, with even his face completely concealed under its shadow. Additionally, although there weren't much overly strong yuan power fluctuations present around his body, this gave Lin Dong a strange feeling. With his current strength, even an initial profound death stage expert would not be able to completely escape his detection and sneak up to a guarded Lin Dong. Upon hearing the red-robed man's irrelevant answer, Lin Dong's gaze grew increasingly gloomy, before a chilling killing intent flashed abruptly within his eyes. Just as Lin Dong's killing intent had erupted from his eyes, a lovable little figure suddenly appeared behind the red-robed man in a flash. Grabbing the life and death coffin in her hands, she gave a ferocious swing towards the back of the red-robed man's head. As the life and death coffin swiped forth, a semicircular wave of light suddenly swept out. Meanwhile, the fluctuations radiating out if it were perfused by the aura of death chi. The red-robed man sat still, as thought he had yet to realize the swift and fearsome attack coming towards him. However, just as the life and death coffin came rumbling over, a laughing voice rang out from under the red robes. The instant his laughter rang out, red light erupted from around the red-robed man, before transforming directly into a flaming halo. Bang! The life and death coffin, perfused with death chi, smashed heavily against the flaming halo, causing low and deep sounds to immediately resound out. Nevertheless, facing against the full-powered attack from Mu Lingshan, there wasn't the slightest bit of distortion present on the flaming halo. It seemed as though her previous attack was completely within the limits that it could accept. Boom! After taking Mu Lingshan's attack, the flaming halo suddenly shook. In the next instant, an even more boundless energy flooded out of it. Due to that counter-attack, the expression on Mu Lingshan's little face changed. Immediately, her lovable little body flew back, before landing somewhat miserably on top of a giant tree in the distance. Such powerful strength! Upon seeing this spectacle, Lin Dong's gaze instantly turned even more grave. Mu Lingshan was at perfect profound life stage. Coupled with her life and death coffin, there was no perfect profound life stage expert that could contend against her. However, from the looks of it, she was unable to put up an ounce of resistance against this red-robed man. Lin Dong's expression turned gloomy as his eyes sparkled. In the next instant, with a wave of his hand, a black ray of light shot furiously out from his sleeve, lunging directly towards the red-robed man. As the black ray of light shot out, it transformed into a human figure. It was actually the sky-devouring corpse that Lin Dong had obtained. Facing this mysterious opponent, he clearly did not plan to show mercy. He did not wish for news of him possessing the ancestral stone to be revealed, regardless of whether the person in front of him knew about it. Looking at the sky-devouring corpse flying towards him, the red-robed man gave a flick of his finger. A fiery ray of brilliance pierced through the sky, rumbling as it smashed against the sky-devouring corpse with lightning speed. Bang! When the ray of fiery brilliance, that seemed minute and small, smashed against the sky-devouring corpse, raging flames instantly erupted furiously. The temperature of those flames were extremely high, as the surrounding space was seemingly burnt till some distortions were formed. However, just as those flames were raging, a black light sparkled on the body of the sky-devouring corpse. In the next moment, those flames unexpectedly disappeared in an astonishing speed. From the looks of it, it appeared as they were devoured by the sky-devouring corpse. This unforeseen change seemed to have exceeded the expectations of the red-robed man, as a faint voice of astonishment rang out from his mouth. Meanwhile, his eyes were staring at the sky-devouring corpse with a slightly conspicuous shock present in them. This energy, how can it be so similar to devouring power? Upon hearing the mutterings of the red-robed man, the corner of Lin Dong's eye twitched uncontrollably for once. This red-robed man had truly keen senses. He was actually able to discover the origin of the sky-devouring corpse with a single glance. Damn it! Where did this guy come from? If he is so powerful, why didn't I hear of him before? Didn't this Sky Lightning Sea region have a restraint on the power the experts that could enter it? Lin Dong's eyes sparkled as he thought about it. The strength of the red-robed man had absolutely exceeded that of Pang Hao and Liu Xiangshuan. However, it was clear that Lin Dong had never seen nor heard about him. If he did not reveal himself, even Lin Dong might not have known that there was actually such a capable person in this cave dwelling. You have quite a few treasures, you brat. Turning his gaze towards Lin Dong, the red-robed man spoke out with a smile. Upon hearing those words, a fierce glint flashed with Lin Dong's eyes once again. Is this fellow after the treasures in my hand? Don't you think you're overly vigilant, brat? I'm just taking a look from the side. Why the need for so much murderous intent? Seeing the killing intent erupting from Lin Dong's body, the red-robed man could not help but exclaim out. You've been hiding and acting suspiciously. How can I not be vigilant against you? Why don't you reveal your face to me today, and let me see exactly who you are? Lin Dong replied with a smirk. Forget about revealing my face, the red-robed man replied with a smile. What exactly does this fellow want? Could it be that he truly thinks that we're pushovers? Mu Lingshan shouted as she poked out with her life and death coffin. Life and death coffin. The immortal sage whale clan, indeed no pushovers. Tilting his head to look at Mu Lingshan, the red-robed man replied her with a smile. Hearing his reply, an astonished shade flashed within Mu Lingshan's big eyes. The person in front of her had unexpectedly recognized her. It's best that you two don't fight anymore. I am not plotting against you two. The reason why I revealed myself was because I was shocked by your methods, brat. Giving a lazy stretch, the red-robed man turned and looked towards Lin Dong once again. At this moment, the former's gaze seemed to contain some deep intent as he said, in this world, there aren't many people who are able to dispel the Yimo Qi, and more so while at the realm of advanced profound life stage. The people that can deal with the Yimo Qi, getting lesser and lesser. You actually recognize Yimo Qi. At this moment, Lin Dong gradually calmed down, before an astonished shade appeared within his eyes. After all, throughout these years, of all the experts that he had met, only a few were able to recognize the Yimo Qi. Heh? No, only do I know, I've also fought with Yimos before. They're indeed very nasty creatures. Hearing Lin Dong's question, the red-robed man gave a strange laugh before replying. Lin Dong was instantly emotionally moved. After quite a while later, he cupped his hands while saying in a deep voice, May I know who you are, senior? Right now, the individuals that knew about the existence of Yimos would definitely be extremely powerful experts. Since the person before them had even fought with them before, he must be no ordinary individual. Ha ha. There's no need to know who I am now. Clapping his hands, the red-robed man stood up. Looking towards Lin Dong, he spoke out with a deep intent, There's quite a few interesting things within your body. I was actually unable to detect them for a while. However, I believe that we will meet again in the future. Let's meet again, brat. As his voice rang out, without waiting for Lin Dong to reply, flames erupted furiously around the red-robed man's body. As the flames dissipated, his body mysteriously disappeared. Looking at the red-robed man, who transformed into flames and disappeared, Lin Dong was stunned. That fellow is simply truly too mysterious. He truly did not know where he came from. Big brother Lin Dong, that fellow's really formidable. Mu Lingshan said while walking over. Lin Dong replied while faintly nodding his head, before sighing quietly. Looks like the experts attracted by this cave dwelling were akin to crouching tigers and hidden dragons. That fellow that had appeared before them was someone that even he feel extremely hard to deal with. Let's go. At this moment, even Lin Dong did not know whether that red-robed man was their friend or foe. The only thing he could do was to shake his head. After which, he uttered a word to Mu Lingshan. In a move, his body transformed into a streak of light, shooting towards the depths of the cave dwelling. After borrowing the strength of the ancestral stone to finish off those 18 withered corpses, the Lin Dong duo once again set off and headed directly towards the deep parts of the cave. While they were venturing deeper, they could also spot many treasure seekers, who had ventured into the cave. They were like a swarm of locusts that charged into some buildings that were in ruins as they searched everywhere for treasures. Although this cave was destroyed in the end, it was clearly quite majestic when it was still standing. Many treasures still remained even after such a long period of time. It was inevitable for those treasure seekers to engage in a bloody battle with reddened eyes after seeing those treasures. Lin Dong had witnessed over 10 intense battles along the way. Both parties fought until they went slightly mad. Moreover, there were also many wolves-like greedy gazes waiting by the side of the battleground. Attempting to successfully obtain a treasure from within this cave was no easy task. Other than the intense battles between the treasure seekers, this cave, which has been encroached upon by Yimo, clearly had some lingering dangers within it. Most of these dangers were just like the withered corpses from before. These corpses have been eroded by the Yimo aura, which had vastly strengthened their bodies. Unless one used a special method to remove the Yimo aura inside, those bodies' corpses would be just like a Terminator. As the cave grew increasingly rowdy, it was obvious that many experts have lost their lives in the hands of those withered corpses. Nonetheless, not only did this fail to strike fear in their hearts, it resulted in an increasingly number of experts gathering together to specifically seek out these withered corpses. This was because the dantian of these corpses had formed that deathly silent pill. This was also a rather precious treasure. If one was to auction it in the outside world, one pill was worth at least a few million Xian Yuan pills. That price caused even attracted Lin Dong a little. Of course, although Lin Dong was attracted, he did not head out to search for those pills. The most important objective of this trip was still the Thunderbolt ancestral symbol. He did not wish to spend a great amount of time searching for those withered corpses within this extremely spacious and majestic cave. If he ended up missing the Thunderbolt ancestral symbol, he would regret it for the rest of his life. Hence, Lin Dong duo merely traveled in a straight line and rushed towards the deep parts of the cave, while those red-eyed treasure seekers were searching all over the cave for those withered corpses. The buildings appearing on the land began to cluster together as the both of them gradually ventured deeper. However, it was still filled with a broken aura. From within the ruins, he could vaguely sense the soul-stirring big battle that had erupted in this place back then. Faced with those evil Yimo's massive attack, it was likely that everyone within this cave had went all out to defend their sect. However, it seemed like they ultimately failed, just like the ancient sect Lin Dong saw within the Great Desolate Tablet. Furthermore, their failure was silently removed from history. If it was not because of the opening of the cave this time around, it was likely that no one would have ever known that such a powerful faction had once existed in the deep parts of this region. Lin Dong's figure rushed through the sky. His eyes looked at the damaged buildings that were appearing to be swiftly retreating in the opposite direction. A quiet sigh was involuntarily emitted in his heart. Those Yimo creatures were indeed the common enemy of those in the world. No one knew where they had come from. However, it seems like not even an inch of grass would appear wherever they had passed. All life appeared to have been destroyed by them. Brother Lin Dong, there is some activity in front. Mu Lingshan's big eyes suddenly looked far in front of her as she flew and cried out curiously. Lin Dong nodded. He had also sensed that there was a unique kind of fluctuation spreading far in front of him. That fluctuation seemed to have a hidden thunder roar. Be careful. Lin Dong turned his head and reminded Mu Lingshan on the opposite side. Lin Dong had been exceptionally cautious ever since he had met that mysterious red-robed person. The Thunderbolt Cave had attracted far too many people this time around. No one knew if there would be another individual like the red-robed person amongst these people. If there was, it was likely going to be quite difficult for him to obtain the Thunderbolt ancestral symbol. Mu Lingshan nodded her head. After having witnessed the strength of the red-robed person, she also understood that the only reason why she was able to hold the life-death coffin cover and swing it around randomly on the island was because the true experts had yet to attack. Lin Dong duo transformed into a bright ray of light which shot across the sky. Around a dozen minutes later, their bodies began to halt to a stop. Their eyes, however, had a shocked expression as they stared at the scene in front of them. 100,000 feet large giant mountain was imprinted into their eyes. The mountain was like a giant that separated the sky and earth. even the flow of time did not diminish its majestic appearance. Bang bang. At this moment, there was a 10,000 feet large silver waterfall whistling down from the mountain cliff. It came rumbling downwards, causing the surrounding to shake in the process. Lin Dong's eyes carefully observed it while his expression became focused. This was because the silver waterfall was actually not ordinary water. Instead, it was formed by viscous silver thunderbolts. The thunder sound was being emitted from within it. A lightning lake was present under the cliff, and the lake was also 100,000 feet in size. It was extremely vast and one could not see its edges at a glance. What a frightening show of wealth! Lin Dong watched the mountain in front of him. The lightning waterfall and the lightning lake caused him to involuntarily inhale a breath of cold air. He could vaguely sense an extremely vast and mighty thunderbolt force from within the lightning waterfall and the lightning lake. Clearly, they were not formed naturally. Instead, they were man-made. By being able to create it with such uncanny workmanship, one could only imagine the strength of the creator. Lin Dong duo slowly rushed towards the mountain. After which, they paused outside of the lightning lake. Their eyes looked over. It was possible to see countless lightning arcs flashing over the lightning pool. Many lightning bolts flowed within the lake, looking as though there were some ferocious beasts lurking within it. This lightning lake is filled with thunderbolt force. It is likely that this place should be the training area for the cave's disciples back then. Lin Dong's hand gently touched the lake. Traces of thunderbolt force lingered onto his hand. After which, they entered it from all his pores, causing his hands to become a little numb. Despite feeling numb, however, he could sense that his body and muscles began to show signs of relaxing as these thunderbolt force invaded his arm. Clearly, this thunderbolt force possessed quite a great body tempering effect. Since they were able to create such a huge lightning lake for its disciples to train in, the grandeur of this sect was something that no ordinary faction could match. Even within the Tao sect, there was merely a pill river within it. Compared to the lightning lake, the pill river was clearly a little lacking. If I have sufficient time, I will train for a period of time in this lightning lake. It will likely be greatly beneficial in my practicing of the green heaven materialized dragon skill. Lin Dong smacked his mouth and felt a little regretful. Currently, it was clearly impossible for him to remain within this lightning lake to train for a couple of months. Lin Dong's expression suddenly changed after his voice sounded. His eyes looked towards the deep parts of the lightning lake. Waves after waves had suddenly formed on the surface of the lake. A whirlpool was slowly being formed. After this whirlpool was formed, it was possible to see a human head-sized lightning-like cluster slowly appearing from it. One could vaguely see a silver heart slowly beating within the light cluster. Each time this silver heart beat, there would be a low and deep thunder roar being emitted. What is that? Mu Lingshan looked at the silver heart within the lightning light in a stunned fashion and asked. Thunderbolt core. Lin Dong's eyes were a little stunned as he looked at the churning silver heart within the lightning lake. In the next moment, a searing heat that could not be hidden suddenly surged from within his eyes. This thunderbolt core could typically only be formed under extremely frightening pressure together with an extremely pure thunderbolt force. Each of them was extremely rare. Even if one was just a newborn baby, if one could endure the strength of the thunderbolt force, one's body would become comparable to that of a nirvana stage expert within an extremely short period of time. Moreover, it was rumored that if one could absorb an extremely pure thunderbolt force into one's body, a certain part of one's body would undergo a strange transformation because of the high concentration of thunderbolt force. From a certain point of view, such a thunderbolt core was quite a rare natural treasure. He had never expected that he was actually able to find one here. It is indeed worthy of being a reincarnation cave. Lin Dong's eyes became excited. He was finally unable to endure the temptation as he thought of the various benefits of the thunderbolt core. His body suddenly charged forward. Within a flash, he had appeared in front of the thunderbolt core before his hand reached out. Bang! However, Lin Dong's hand had just touched the thunderbolt core when a rushing wind sound suddenly attacked. A figure directly targeted the fatal spot between his brow. Lin Dong frowned after being suddenly obstructed. He flipped his hand and threw a punch. Green light surged and blocked the powerful wind with a punch. Finally, he lifted his head, only to find a familiar alluring white-dressed figure standing a short distance away. Liu Xiangshuan. Lin Dong watched the ultimate beauty in a white dress who appeared quite holy. His eyes immediately narrowed slightly. This video will end here.